The door.
Yes?
Could you recommend another good book?
There!
This room can communicate a great deal of knowledge, particularly about the land of Kalima, just not in that way. This book is entitled Legends. Browsing through it, you notice an interesting excerpt. This book.
Yes?
Could you recommend another good book?
There!
This book is entitled Power, Politics, and Pulpits. Browsing through it, you notice an interesting excerpt. The door of the antique shop is your gateway to the priceless treasures beyond. Maybe. Ah, dragon fire! Oh, no, wait. It's just a mounted dragon head. Whew. You are inside a cute little antique shop. Old furniture and knickknacks clutter the place. Against the wall, a low bench displays an assortment of items. Twin axes grace the wall above the front door. You wonder if they serve as a security measure for intruders. An expensive-looking statue catches your eye. It is sculpted of white marble and appears to be the only item of any real value within the shop. You find it quite odd that this grand statue is situated amongst other ordinary items of far less value. A rather modern timepiece lies cluttered among an assortment of other bits and pieces. It's a weather vane with the obligatory depiction of a rooster. You'd really like to know just what became of the rest of the ship. Apparently, this interesting-looking item is a Model DX cartridge retrieval unit. Quite a useful little device in another time and place. There are some... A large and incredibly hefty-looking mallet is propped up against the shelf. A small engraving on its head reads, Broggy. There are some vases. An intricately painted china doll, complete with a miniature tea set, adorns the bench. You are inside a cute... The little old lady is tiny, with twinkling blue eyes. Her white hair is done up in a neat bun on top of her head. She appears at first to be in her 60s. Then you notice the sheer quantity of makeup plastered on her face, and decide that she may well be older than that.
Good afternoon. What can I do for you, dear?
Hello. Do you sell anything that would aid in ascent of a mountain?
Unfortunately, I do not sell climbing equipment, or anything of that sort. This is really a specialist store.
Oh.
However, I do have an item which you might find useful. This lamp is said to contain a genie. Never tried it myself, of course. I do not believe in using magic to solve my problems. Nature has made us as we are, and we should be glad of that.
Uh-huh. How much for the lamp?
The old lady hesitates. You sense she wants more from you than your money. You hope it is not anything that you will regret.
Well, seeing as how you are a man who seems adept at taking care of himself, perhaps you could do a small favor for me?
Somehow, you knew she was going to say that.
I once owned a beautiful nightingale, quite rare around here, but the sentimental value far outweighs its monetary worth. That foul old witch Hagatha has stolen it from me, probably to use in some concoction or another.
Her nose screws up in disgust.
So, if you could be a sweetie and retrieve it for me, I will trade you the lamp for the bird. Agreed?
Well, I will see what I can do.
Do be careful. If Hagatha should spot you out of her good eye, then you'll be in for it.
The door...
Here. This might help your sneezing.
Oh, thanks. Here, you can have this back now.
You retrieve the partially used cloth from the haystack.
Feel better?
Yeah, it's so good to be able to
You take the silver needle. It is a tiny silver needle. It reminds you of a dart. You can't see a thing past the cave entrance. Judging from the smell wafting out of it, you're not sure that you want to. The cave is of the usual stone variety. There appears to be only one entrance and, therefore, one exit. Unless you are mistaken, the symbol above the cave entrance bears a striking similarity to a bat. A shiver runs down your spine as you look at it. It's almost as if some dark force were radiating from it. It is a human skull with a radiant blue stone wedged into its eye socket. The arch is a natural formation which, amazingly, mirrors the shape of the cave entrance. Through it, you can see the rocky shoreline which meets the sea. As you near the cave, the bat symbol above the entrance starts radiating an ominous black glow. You saw black glow, you did not slow, turned not away, you've had your day. The cave. As you face the skull towards the image of the bat above the cave, you notice that its wing has faded slightly. However, you suspect that whatever danger the bat represents is still in effect. It is a human skull with large eye sockets. Throwing that away would be like discarding one of... Throwing that away would be like... It is a human Throwing that away. The whole place feels unpleasant. You think this odd, as you are right next to the sea. You should be feeling relaxed, not nervous. The skull looks like it is designed to be pivoted on its stake. However, there appears to be something missing which prevents you from turning it. Throwing that away. The skull looks like... It is a human skull with large eye sockets. As you attempt to place the birth gem into the skull, you discover that it does not fit properly. Instead, it juts out uselessly like a bulging eyeball. You gently tap the birth gem with the mallet, hoping not to break it. It budges only slightly. You give it a harder hit. It moves a bit more. You hold your breath and give the gem an almighty thwack. It pops into the skull. The whole place feels... You could... With the birth gem now firmly in place, you turn the leftmost skull so that it faces the bat symbol above the cave entrance. The power of the two skulls combined has caused the bat symbol to disappear. You sense whatever danger it represented has now subsided. As you enter, you are almost overwhelmed by the foul stench which molests your nostrils. It is obviously coming from whatever Hagatha is cooking in that large cauldron of hers. There are some things of interest on the other side of the cave, but you have no means of crossing over there safely at this time. A caged nightingale sits on the floor near the northern cave wall. The light from outside barely penetrates the interior of this cave. So long as you keep your distance, Hagatha shouldn't notice you. This is the ugliest old lady you have ever seen. She has warts all over her face and matted gray hair. She clasps her stick with claw-like hands. The iron cauldron is bubbling with a nasty-smelling brew. A hot fire burns underneath. The skulls probably belong to unfortunate travelers who fell into Hagatha's clutches. Apparently, she is not a vegetarian. A gilded cage sits to one side of the cave. A beautiful nightingale flits nervously inside. The cage is locked and chained securely to the wall. A simple but elegant black cloak hangs on a stand. To your horror, you realize that your attempted push the witch into the cauldron strategy has achieved nothing more than garnering her undivided attention.
Well, you are the gentleman, saving me a lot of trouble by coming here.
Did you really think that tactic was going to work a second time? You need to get... You hear Agatha begin a chant of some kind while stirring her brew.
The fluid of blood with bone and flesh.
Being as quiet as a mouse, you slide your hand inside the cloak to discover a deep pocket. Amongst sticky and disgusting spell ingredients, you find a tiny silver key and a peculiar golden ring-shaped device.
Twill make
You
my
can't-
complexion young and fresh.
You can't use that there.
Inducing time.
You
to
silently
reverse
drop the
its
cloth
sale.
over the cage. You slide the silver key into the lock. It fits. You turn it silently, and the chain falls to the ground.
All I need
It feels
is a sweet nightingale.
Without making a sound, you take the nightingale into your possession. Uh-oh, Agatha has seen you.
Well, you are the gentleman, saving me a lot of trouble by coming here.
You wandered into the witch's lair, and where... Being is... You can't... You need... You...
The fluid of blood with bone and flesh.
You silently drop the cloth. You slide this... Without making a sound.
Twill make my complexion young and fresh. Inducing time.
Your head... You strike the skull with all your strength, and it shatters easily. The birth gem clatters to the ground, along with a multitude of bone fragments. You reacquire the birth gem. You have run. The cage still has... You remove the cloth from the cage. Looking at the bottom of the cage, you find that a letter has become stuck to it. You peel it off. You read the letter. The letter puzzles you, but you put it away and continue your quest. Don't leave the... You offer the nightingale to Angelina. The sheer elation on her face almost makes the whole risk worth the while. She snatches it from you and proceeds to fuss over the bird. You wait for a moment, but it seems she no longer notices you.
If you don't mind, about the lamp you promised me in trade for the nightingale?
The shopkeeper looks up at you vaguely. She gradually remembers that there is another being in her world.
Yes? Oh, yes, take it. You'll have no beginning of use with it.
Don't you mean no end of use?
Of course. Whatever you say, dear.
You hear Angelina muttering cheerfully to herself as she exits.
Finally, I have the final ingredient for that marvelous youth potion. I'm going to beat you to the punch, my dear Agatha. Serves you right for hoarding this sweet, juicy thing to yourself.
You feel a nauseous tinge in your stomach. Well, at least the lamp is now yours. A rather beaten and tarnished brass lamp is positioned on the countertop. You take the old lamp. You rub the lamp and wait expectantly, but nothing happens. You're about to give it another try when a small puff of smoke appears at the end of the spout. It clears, revealing a note. As you remove it, the lamp disappears. You read the scroll. The door is solid wood. Angelina cannot hear you. Upon closer examination, you discover that the statue hides a small latch. You flip the latch and watch in amazement as a trap door opens up from the floor. You close the trap door behind you. A tangled mass of jewelry and chains have been dumped into boxes and pushed up against the back wall. You see a letter on the desk. You read the letter sitting on the desk.